How do you make decisions? In this session, what we're going to do is going to break down how you make decisions. I'm going to offer some frames for you that are going to really help you when it comes to making decisions. And this is something that I personally struggled with for a big part of my personal development. When I first came into coaching, when I first had one of my first coaches, actually, he told me that I struggled to make decisions. And I realized this in, being presented with a decision. I got presented with a decision to join a mastermind. And I remember really, really clearly, I had probably 6 months of really great results. I was taking action, I was backing myself, I was making sales, all the things that would suggest perpetuating this momentum would have really helped me. I was presented with a decision to join a mastermind, which was a real big investment at the time. It was really a big investment for me personally. And I noticed where I dropped into when I was presented with that opportunity to grow. It was fear, it was worry, it was catastrophe. And what I believe, and this is something that you may acknowledge about yourself and maybe something that you want to work on, is that so many people struggle to make decisions. I've been working in the coaching field and the body transformation field now for over a decade and a half. And when presented with a logical next step to move forward and transform someone's life, they will often come up with so many objections, ways to combat making a decision, worry, concern, fear. I've seen it so many times. And it's actually in helping someone navigate that sweet spot, that actual, it's a precipice. It's a real tight spot where they feel emotional, they're worried, they're probably going to make some sort of financial commitment because what we pay for, we pay attention to. So they're about to financially commit, or they're about to commit to making a change, and they drop into old patterns by which they made decisions. So what I feel is really important for you to understand are better frames as to which to make your decisions. So let's wade into this together. I'm going to share some frames that will help you and also talk you through some of the ways I help clients. Now, at any point, you might want to pause the recording and actually really check in with this. Really check in with the way that you make decisions. Maybe there's a decision that you've got to make at the moment where it's a big decision about your business, your life, your work, your relationship, your fitness. And hopefully the share I give you with these 5, maybe 6 frames will help you with that. Now, the first thing about this is that to be a great leader, you have to make decisions. There is no two ways about it. A great leader can make decisions. Now, this is where I think that I spoiled my leadership at parts of my latter side of my 20s. I was really, I was a big decision maker early in my 20s. I'd make a decision, bold, sometimes reckless, even stupid decisions, but seemingly stupid decisions at the time, but they would always create forward momentum in my life. And I became a little bit more risk averse as I got later into my 20s. And also, not making decisions cannibalizes your leadership because people beneath you or who you're leading or who are following you get frustrated because you become the bottleneck. So what we want to become very good at in leadership is making decisions. Now let's wade into the first frame that I give clients first. Let's wade in this together. Now, the biggest problem I see with making decisions is that people believe that making a decision pushes them into pain. I used to see this when someone would come into my consultation room and be thinking about buying a fitness program. They knew that saying yes to a program would mean that they would be going into the gym, there'd be disruption, there would be change in their life, they'd have to eat better, they'd maybe have to have some social pain. Now, what we see is if we see that decision of enrolling in a body transformation or spending money, investing in yourself, if we see that as the painful thing and we do anything to avoid pain, we will naturally come to that precipice of that decision and then we will make the comfortable choice. And this is actually where I love this, where you can reframe pain. We want disruption, we want that disorganization to be happening in our life because what we do is that's where we grow. Now, we want pain. So what we want to do is we want to have a tool in our arsenal, and if you go to the previous podcast, I actually talk about the reversal of desire. Now, the desire is to move towards being comfortable, not move towards pain. And what we want to do is we want to reverse that. We want to start seeing decisions, perhaps painful decisions, as moving closer towards the thing that we want and we want in our life. Whether that's a hard conversation, whether that's enrolling in a program, whether that's going for that next echelon in the pay grade in our work, whether that is asking our partner to marry us or have a baby, whatever that may be, that might seem like the painful decision, but it's always the thing that pushes you forward in your life into momentum. So we want to reframe that. And what we want to do is, this is another one as well, is we want to see the pain as something we want. We want to really start to see the pain, the discomfort as something we want. So that's the first frame I'm going to invite you to start using with making a decision. The second one is to make an owner versus a victim decision. Now, an owner makes a decision that they want what they want, and then they go after it. So, for example, I want this, I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to go after it. Whereas a victim is a victim of circumstance. They will wait and wait and wait and wait until the circumstantial pressure builds enough pressure to force their hand to make a decision. And then they come to maybe a space of coaching, or they maybe exclaim, you might be exclaiming yourself, as like, how come I don't feel like I own my life? I feel like my corporation, I feel like the place I work at, I feel like the economy is kind of just pushing me down these different rabbit warrens of where I don't want to be. And this is the problem. When we make our decisions from a place of being the victim of circumstance, it's circumstance that drives our decision making. And this is not where we want to be. It drops ownership, it drops agency, and we feel like our life isn't our own. And so what we want to do, I was actually on a call with a client the other day, and he had two decisions: do I stay or do I go in his current workspace? And I did actually say to him, one of the things that you want to make a decision on is, before the circumstantial pressure to make a decision about leaving actually falls on your lap, make a decision if you're going to stay or going to go, because then it's your decision. You own the decision. You don't want the pressure of the external workplace saying, are you going to come or not, forcing your hand. You want to say, this is where I want to go, and then make the decision about where you want to go, which vehicle works best for you. And he was like, yes, that's so helpful, because one of the things, what often happens is that we make a decision about a job or a work or a career or even a business opportunity, and we actually haven't thought about, is this taking me closer to where I want to be? We sometimes do the opposite way around. We say yes to the thing, and then we think about where we want to be afterwards. And that's why we often end up lost and we don't know where we want to go. It's because we want to work from the goal backwards. So make an owner versus a decision. Make an owner versus a victim decision. Victim decisions are always born out of circumstance. Circumstance is so, that's why I have to do this thing. And we just don't want to be in that position. The next one is make your decisions from your future self. And this is something that I realized I wasn't doing. I really got in my own way for a large part of my own personal success journey. I got in my own way. I made my decisions from my past self. Now, the problem with a lot of the ways that people see the time is that they think that I think it's determinism theory, which is the past determines the present, and the present determines the future. And that isn't how time really works. We want to be using the future to inform the present, and how we feel in the present informs how we see our past. And this is a great way to see how we make decisions, because when we start making decisions from our future self, what we get to do is we get to remove ourselves from failures, past things that haven't gone so well. Just because something hasn't gone well in the past, it doesn't mean it's going to happen in the future. I've had many times where maybe I've gone on 3 or 4 sales calls, or I've spoken to 3 or 4 vendors and pitched a product or a service and had no. Now, determinism theory would be, because it's gone 3 no's in a row, that means the next one's going to be a no. Whereas what I want to say is like, well, this is where I want to go. I want to have this many customers, or I want this many clients, or I want this many sales. I'm going to have to look to the future. And what we want to do is we want to make our decisions from our future self, not our past self. Now, one of the activities you have to do in order to do this, which I do on the 10X tribe, is create a really clear vision of your future self. Now, this isn't something I had put a lot of energy into until the last 3-4 years. Is getting really, really clear on what does my future self look like, and building this what I call a North Star. So when you start making your decisions, you're making it from the North Star backwards. This is, well, if I'm going to be earning this much money, I'm living here, and this is my perfect day, and this is what I want 10 years into the future. What do I say to this decision right now? And this could be, if you're struggling with your weight or you're struggling with your business, is that when you're struggling with your weight, getting up in the morning and getting out the door to the gym, if you make your decision in that moment from your past self who didn't go to the gym, you're always going to perpetuate the same result. But if you make it from that person, that 10-year ahead of yourself person, you say, well, my 10-year self doesn't even struggle going to the gym. It's just a decision. It's not even actually a decision, it's a commitment. I get up at 4, 5, 6, 7 and go to the gym. That's such an important thing. And it's really like the newest arc of psychology is really starting to look to future self governing the present, which transforms your past. It's really, really powerful when you start looking at it like that. The next one is making your decisions from a place of love, not fear. Now, I've done a couple of podcasts on love versus fear over the last couple of weeks, and I really want you to get clear on this, because when we make a decision from a place of fear, we're in a contracted state. Now, even if you think about how fear affects you physiologically, so when you are in fear, when you're scared, you're worried, you contract, you fight, flight, or freeze. Even your vision, you get tunnel vision. Like, think about a time when you were really, really scared. Sometimes you can't even see your peripherals. It gets super narrow. You get hyper focused. You get hyper vigilant. Your heart rate goes up. Are you in a place to make an expansive decision about your life in that place? And that's my argument, is that when we make a decision from a place of fear, maybe it's about self-development, maybe it's about a job opportunity, maybe it's about your relationship. If we're making our decisions in that physiological state, we're going to be making them from a very, very contracted, obstructed place. Whereas love is open. It's open. It's connecting. It's expansive. Think about if you've ever had a feeling of overwhelming love. It's a really expansive feeling. You want to do more. You want to express more. You want to be more. So if you are thinking about this, and like, when did you last make a big decision? Try and check in about where you are emotionally. Like, am I fearful of this decision? Am I worried? And something I've learned over the last couple of years is, like, fear is just excitement without the breath. And often, even when I track back to my worried state about making the decision about the mastermind, I don't think I was breathing. Take a breath, slow down, like, look at, oh my gosh, like, this opportunity could really grow my life. It could grow my relationship. It could grow my career. And when you slow down and you push aside sometimes some of the fearful, worried, the nagging decisions that you're trying to make, is you're actually, you're in a great opportunity. Like, there's never been as much opportunity as there is today. Never been as much opportunity as there is today. And the question I often use with clients is, like, what would you love to create? What would you love to create? And this is something that I think is really, really helpful for you, is that in the face of a problem, in the face of an obstacle, we create. We create from a place of, what would I love to create? And when clients have been in that space with me and we've said, well, what would you love to create? And they were like, well, actually, do you know what? I don't want to have 100 people to serve. I'd actually rather serve just 10 people really deeply and really well. And then they've created that from a place of love, expansion. It's flowed out them really easily, instead of this place of worry, concern, and fear, where they've been reactive and contracted. The experience of creation is way different. The next one, the next frame for making a decision, you have to excuse my maybe bluntness on this one, make a freaking decision. Make a decision. Get good at making decisions. Now, there's a part I cover in the Mile Deep Mastermind, which is called self-leadership. It's the decisive part of you who makes that decision. And I think that what a lot of leaders will do is that it will do anything but make a decision. Maybe coming from a place of victimhood where they'll do anything, they'll abdicate, they'll blame, they'll remove decision-making opportunities, they'll give it to the team, they'll ask the team all the time. Whereas at some point, you're going to have the pain of making the decision. Now, what I think happened for me, and I've seen this in clients as well, is that I was worried about making decisions that led us into more pain or that might not have gone well. So I would step away from those. Whereas you actually will have to make good quality decisions. Now, this is where you start to build a network of good counsel, good intuition, good support, maybe fast calibration. You build that when you make decisions. But what I think holds you back as a leader is that if you are abdicating decision making to maybe your CFO, maybe it's your head of marketing, maybe it's the clients that you're always asking to make your decisions for you, which is even worse. And you end up with this business that you don't even enjoy being in. And I've seen this happen for so many people. They've abdicated so much of the decision making. They just feel so little control over the thing that they're trying to build. So get good at making decisions and get really clear on what decisions need to be made. And sometimes it's as simple as writing those down. What decisions do I have to make this week? And it was actually, one of the things I coach clients through is this 80-20 principle. So where we get all of the things that they're currently doing and we help them make decisions on what is the 80% that they're going to start saying no to. And that's a decision. It's a decision not to do something. And I think a lot of what happens when people get great results in coaching is what they say no to, what they stop doing, because they have more bandwidth, they have more potency, and they have more intensity on the 20% that makes the difference. And that's a big part of personal transformation. So what we want to get very, very good at doing is making a decision. And the final one, which I'm actually going to do a whole podcast on because I think it's going to be really helpful for you, is this idea of 100% commitment versus the 98% commitment. And 100% decision is, I would say, like a marriage. It's I'm all in. Now, I find that 100% commitments are way easier than 98% commitments. When I say to myself, I'm just not drinking for 6 months, and I regularly do that for 6 months at a time, I won't drink. I don't even have to have the decision fatigue of saying, do I or don't I? And a big one I talk about this with clients is that I made this decision that if there's a word day in the week, I'm training, which is every day, of course, and it just removes so much of my decision fatigue. Instead of asking myself the question, am I training or not today? It's what time am I training and where and when? And another decision I made is I'm just going to train first thing every single morning. And it made it so much easier to stick to. There was no decision fatigue. I didn't have to think about it again. And so many people, what I call, do the hokey cokey dance of commitment. They don't know if they're in or they're out. And that is so challenging. It's so fatiguing. And it's often what burns you out. So I don't have to think about, do I need to drink more water today? This kind of takes care of it for me. And I don't think about, am I training today? I don't think about, do I need to drink alcohol on Friday? Those decisions are 100% commitments. I don't have to think about them again. And it's made it even easier and easier. Whereas I think that so many leaders have so many social pressures, so many unmade decisions, so many things that they haven't committed to, that inhibits their better quality making decisions that they need to be making in their business and in their life. So they are 6 frames that will help you with making decisions. Hopefully they've helped you from a place of giving you some frames or tools to use about a decision that you have or need to make. Coaching is a really great place to help with making decisions. This is something that I think is really important about the difference between coaching and mentoring, is that coaching helps you become better at making decisions yourself. Like, this is something that I think is a misconception in the coaching market right now, is that a coach isn't just a problem solver. You don't hire a coach and they solve your problems. They help you look at these kind of frames to make you better at solving your own problems. I know so many people that have had coaches in the past or had mentors, and when they've stopped with that coach or mentor, they've got no growth, because what they've done, they've gone to the call, they've told them their problem, and the coach or the mentor said, just go and do this. And albeit they might have learned a process, they haven't learned how to think, and how to think is the valuable part of coaching. So if you've got a decision that you want to make and you're struggling with, all you need to do is click on the link which is attached to this video and just get in touch, because I can help you start to become way, way better with your decisions. It's what we cover in the Mile Deep Mastermind and the 10X Tribe. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you on the next video.